I am gaming. I am gaming. I am gaming podcast.
Hi everybody, thank you so much for being on the latest episode of I'm Gaming Podcast, the podcast where I talk about, sometimes alone, sometimes with my awesome guests, about the video game industry, entrepreneurship, pop culture, gaming nostalgia, and so many things in between all of these. This time I have no guest, I'm alone, so episode 28 will be all about my take on an issue that I recently came about in an actual casual discussion I had with one of my friends who's also in the gaming industry like myself, and it was about a simple concept that's actually hiding a whole world behind it. The idea is to find a way to balance, or how do you balance, the problem of the artistical drive when you create games and the business drive when you do the same. The whole dilemma stems from the fact that games are art. They will be recognized as a classical art form sooner or later. The same happened to comic books some decades ago, and it will happen to games as well. But we all know and feel that games are definitely art. Video games are art, table games are art. Gaming as a process is something that's very close to creative and artistical expression. The same goes for making games. However, all of the games, or a vast majority of games, are also business ventures. So in this case, a process that creates games is really similar to the process that creates movies, with the small difference that there are a lot of people who are creating games inside of super small communities of just several people, and there are many people who are creating games completely on their own. This isn't that prevalent in the world of movies, but is prevalent in the world of comic books. So as you can see, these categories all kind of encroach on one another, and this is completely normal for any kind of a artistic process and venture. However, when you start to comprehend games as business ventures, you also come into a completely different realm. A realm where the game is just a product, like any other product you might have on any other market. Their objective, the game development companies, and the objective of any other business entity is the same. Take my product, or my service, in this case a product, and sell it to as many people as possible. Here things get a bit complicated, because your artistic outlook might include you making a game based on the things you find inspiring, fascinating, different, worth exploring. These do not have to coincide with the things that people want to buy as a product. So you're not driven only by your artistic vision, but also a way to mold that artistic vision to something that the biggest possible group of people would want to buy. For a lot of individuals, there is a clear conflict here. So it's either or. I can either focus on my vision, create things I want to create exactly how I want to create them, or I'll do a business venture, create something that has no connection with my artistic drive and is simply something I believe will sell well. Psychologically speaking, when you create dichotomies like this, you always come into a form of internal conflict. And one conflict that you never can fully realize or resolve, because at any given time, both sides of the argument are valid. Yes, you want to give your game to as many people as possible for them to pay something for it. And you also want to express your creative drives, more or less. Some, for example, small indie teams who are single-person ventures are all about their expression. If you work inside of a huge AAA gaming company, you probably have less control, but your creativity is still on the table. If it weren't, you would probably be in some other business, not in game development. So the very essential moment of having a conflict between these two is an issue. There is no need for any kind of an oppressive or opposing process where A fights with B. Both are a part of you, and these are not conflicted. You decide to make them conflicted, or you decide to put an emphasis on either one of those. So if you have a strong artistic drive, a clear vision of what your game should be and can be, you know, and you should know, that there is a really slim chance of you doing the same inside of a huge team. because it's really hard to be that charismatic, intelligent, business savvy, socially maneuverable to be able to present the same idea to as many people as possible and have them buy it. The next problem is that even if you sell it successfully, chances are it won't get out the way you want it to, the way you have it in your mind. So it's a problem of when you have that conflict of you trying to basically sell something that isn't for the same buyer, who will buy it nonetheless. But the problem begins with you even trying to sell it. If you want to earn money primarily, then your artistic vision should not be the main drive of that. The main drive of it should be any kind of a business approach where you study the market, try to figure out the best product and deliver the best product. It all starts with you, with things you actually want, more or less. The dichotomy begins when you think you want both equally strongly and in any circumstance. That's an issue. That's basically wanting to go fishing with a hunting rifle. Hunting rifle is cool, fishing is cool. Not really, I'm not into either fishing or hunting, so it's a bad analogy, but let's stick to it. You have adequate tools for an inadequate job. The same goes here. It's up to you and your internal process and your self-awareness and your ability to accept yourself as a person and figure out what the hell you actually want. With that knowledge, you can approach any kind of a process without having the opposing forces actually meet in battle. Yes, sometimes your artistic vision is a problem for the ability of the game to create money. Yes, sometimes your vision of how to get most money will affect the artistic vision. But these can cooperate. They don't have to fight in an open or pitched battle. The way to do it is by understanding what you want more and what you want a little bit less. With that understanding, with that realization, you can approach not only your game development project, but your entire career at some particular points. Otherwise, it will be a case of you going hunting with a fishing rod or fishing with a hunting rifle. Figure out what you want, try to be okay with it, and then approach everything else you want to do in your life in regards to game development. Not to mention that you can do parallel things at the same time, which includes working on a business venture, a money-making game, and also working on artistic vision that can and doesn't have to earn a lot of big bucks. There are plenty of options, all of them can work for you, but they can start only when you know where you're coming from. And that's the essential idea, that's the main thing I wanted to talk to you about in this episode. If you don't have that idea, don't have that vision of what you actually want, chances are you won't be able to find it by accident. So avoid that possibility and instead first focus on yourself, your needs and desires, try to realize them, try to accept them, and then decide what you want to do in the outer world. So the idea of finding the destination you want in the outer world always includes first figuring out what is happening, your inner landscape, your inner world. Without it, if these two don't communicate, chances are there's going to be a conflict and you'll still end up thinking, did I sold out to make a business game, or did I focus on my artistic vision so much that I'm left with a game no one wants to play? By being mindful of yourself, your needs, you can avoid any of that and have a cohesive approach to things that might fail or might not, but your approach in it will be valid for yourself. That's all for me for this episode. I hope you found it interesting. Thank you so much for listening. Please check out my Patreon page. Link is in the description below. I would love to get some support from you, some monetary love here. And also huge thanks to all of my patrons. You really make this possible. I'm super grateful for every dollar you provide for my podcast. That's all from me. If you're a first time viewer, listener, please subscribe. There's the link right there. There's the button. Press, snap, touch, hold, click, smash, and everything else. Subscribe button, and I'd love to have you on my future episodes as well. Again, thanks for watching and have a great day.